Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Talks One podcast. Today, we are going to understand the other side of AI. I have myself covered several podcasts where I talked about the AI revolution, nuts and bolts of AI, how it is going to change the basically job scene, automation, and things along those lines. But it's important having worked in AI and being like a professional in the field. It's important. I also talk about the pitfalls of AI, right? No technology is foolproof, and it goes without saying for AI as well. So today's discussion will go in a little bit of a deep dive. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you so have, or if any other topic do you believe with related to AI that I need to cover, I'll cover it right in this session itself. So let's start out. I'll not go into explanation of what AI is and how it has to be used and things along those lines. If you have any of those doubts, etc., you can look at previous podcasts that do a wonderful job in breaking down what AI is, the history about it, how it is being used, and what companies are using it. So today's discussion is primarily going to be around the pitfalls of AI, the unseen territory, the side effects that AI can cause as you start using it. So let's start with the very basics that whenever you implement any kind of an AI model, right, there are chances of false positives and false negatives. So let me illustrate both these points, the false positive and the false negative. Let's say you have built a model to detect spam on a social media website, right? Let's say I'm currently presenting on YouTube, and YouTube has implemented an algorithm whereby it basically sees any comment that comes along and tries to validate whether this comment is a spam or not, right? So the duty of the model is to detect a spam detector, right? So if it is a spam, they basically delete that comment. If it is not, then they let it pass, right? That's how any social media network does. So while I'm speaking right now, people may be commenting, they may write, and job of YouTube machine learning algorithm is to detect spam. So when I say it is going to, so the current result is false positive. It means the comment was not a spam, but the model detected it as a spam. You get my point. So let's say the comment was a simple comment that, hey, what's up? Let's say that's the comment. And the intention of the comment was just to know like your whereabouts or how you were doing. But somehow the model detected it was a spam and it basically deleted the comment. This will be categorized as false positive, meaning you detected a positive of something which shouldn't have been detected. It should have been rejected, actually. That's a classic example of false positive. In the same light, what will be a false negative? So the false negative would be such, let's say there is a comment, somebody basically abuses you, they write an abuse in the comment, which is clearly a spam. They should have been caught, but the system passes it through as a good comment. So this would be considered as false negative, meaning that the system was unable to recognize basically spam and let it go through, which will cause the problem in the community because nobody wants to see abuses and things along those lines. So I think this example clarifies what a false negative and false positive is. Now, let me go a little bit deeper and mention to you that any kind of AI system, any kind of machine learning system will always have some false positives and false negatives. Now, it is up to the system builder, the platform builder, to determine whether they can discount a false positive or a false negative. You cannot optimize both the false positive or false negative because they are kind of orthogonally different to each other. So if you try to optimize that I should have minimum false positive, then you cannot continue to minimize false negatives. Similar when if you try to minimize the number of false negative, then you cannot minimize the false positive in the same light as well. So you have to make a decision, a choice, what is much worse for you. Like having more false positives is much worse for you, or having more number of false negatives is much worse for you. That is how you tune your models, and this is the one pitfall that any kind of machine learning or AI model will have. So invariably, how good you make the model, how well you train it, there are going to be chances where you will get false positive and false negative. That's fundamental first thing that you need to understand. Another classic example is when you are receiving emails on, let's say, your Gmail or Outlook or whichever email client that you use, right? There will be a junk folder or the spam folder, right? And many times you will see sometimes even good mails will go and sit in the junk folder or in the spam folder. You will understand that whenever some good mail or a mail that you were highly anticipating goes and sits into your spam or junk folder, there is a high chance that you may basically miss those mails. You may not even check those mails, and maybe it was an important mail. So the the damage that false negative this damage that a false positive does in this case is very very high, because it has marked a good email to be as a spam, and because of those reasons you did not even check the email and respond to it. That's the kind of a drawback, right? On the other light, let's say if spam or marketing emails or other kind of junk emails or bulk emails that come to you, rather than sitting in spam, comes directly into your primary inbox, then it will basically cloud your primary inbox. It will waste a lot of your time, because now you will have to go through all those junk emails before you reach into an actual relevant email. So that's the beauty of, that's the like the disadvantage if the false negative is extremely high, right? So you have to build a balance, and you have to really optimize on what do you really like, false negative or false positive. What do you really don't care about is what you want to optimize your systems upon. So I think it must be extremely clear to you by now that what is false positive, false negative, how they impact any kind of a machine learning or AI systems, and how they play around in our day-to-day lives. Second thing is that you should understand is that any kind of AI model requires tons and tons of data. So if you do not have huge amount of data through which this model can be trained, in those sequences, AI model will be complete flop. You cannot build a model with very limited amount of data, because that will not be sufficient for training the model. So you have to be very careful whenever you are trying to deploy a machine learning AI model. You have to make sure that you have tremendous amount of training data. Training data means that you should have lots and lots of observation and examples, so that that can be modeled. If you don't have that, do not use machine learning or AI in those circumstances. So that's the pitfall number two. Many times people just try to build a model, because building a model in Python and all is like super easy. You just call an API and the model is actually built. The point is not building the model. The point is building the right model. Point is building an accurate model. That's the hardest part. So whenever you have very limited data, do not try to build a machine learning model. Your first job should be to collect tons and tons of data, build a very good training data set. We also call it as a golden data set. Build a model from that. If you don't have those prerequisites, please do not go ahead and build a machine learning model or deploy a AI model. I have already defined what generative AI is in some of my other podcasts, so you can look at that. The generative AI is a special class of AI models in which, rather than predicting a class or predicting a number, it predicts a content. Now, that content could be a number, it could be a class, it could be a word, it could be a letter, it could be a paragraph, it could be a code, it could be a video, audio, any kind of thing. So that's the beauty of generative AI. So with all the training that the large language models have done over the internet for the last few years, right? At the very least, you can say we all have seen large language models at least for 2 plus years now, right? It's not anything lower than that. At the very least, everybody would have seen these large language models, Chat GPT, for at least 2 years now. So now that you have seen these models for 2 years, these models have been built upon all the open internet that is available. So they have trained on all the art, image, text, voice, video, all those kind of things that are publicly available on the open internet, right? So when all this thing is available, the chat GPTs or any kind of applications that are built on top of these large language models are built on these open data that is available on the internet, right? Now, when you try to generate through prompting, like when you ask it a question and it generates you an answer, now the challenge with this is you don't know what data set or what public data set basically this LLM was trained upon. Nobody shares that. They just say it is all public data that we used. So whenever a generative AI system will give an answer, the likelihood that it will be factual is very, very questionable, because what a generative AI model does, it just looks into the past, what has happened, whenever similar set of questions were asked, what was the most likely output that was generated. So it does not think, it does not reason. All it does is that it tries to match a pattern, that the current question that you have asked, does it match to other questions in its corpus, in its database, which it was trained upon. And if it is similar to a question that it sees in the database, what was the most likely output this question generated, it will just pick that and basically throw it out as the answer. So now you can understand what are the limitations of a like a large language model. So it is basically a very simple statistic play. What statistics tells is that if the probability of occurrence of a particular content is higher, that content will be prioritized. So for every question that you ask, it looks into what is a similar content to the question that you're asking, and what is the most likely output for this content, and that's what it throws out as the answer. Many times that answer may be incorrect. But there is another thing you would experience in mostly in generative AI tools, is that they're extremely verbose. So they have a tendency that to demonstrate that they are more human or human like, they put lot of flowery language, they put lot of jargon. And sometimes you will see when you are chatting with it, or like trying to get to an answer, it will try to repeat your question in just different ways, or it will pad a little bit of wording here and there, and it will regurgitate the same thing again and again. And this has been one of the problems that these large language models have, and many people have experienced it, that you try to basically, let's say, write a code, you give it a problem statement that please generate me this code. If it is extremely simple, generally it does a great job in like coming out with a simple, like few lines answer of this would be the code for this question. But if the question or the prompt is a little bit complicated, generative AI goes for a toss. It's very hard to get a complex question right in the first attempt of generative AI. It's not only about the coding. Even if you go for any kind of language task, like generating an essay, or getting some points for like FAQs or whatever that it is, it will have similar set of problems there as well. Because fact of the matter is, all it does is tries to see if this similar kind of question has been asked in the past, what are the similar set of questions that were similar to this, and what were the answers that were generated from it. It just picks up the answer that is more likely right, which is based upon the number of times similar answer was generated for the similar question, and that's the answer you get. So I think by now it should be clear to you that uh, all we are playing out here is probability and approximation. That's all what is happening. One more pitfall that generative AI particularly does is that sometimes it seems to create fabricated facts. This has been a problem since the very starting, and even with all the advancements and so many competitors, whether it is Llama, OpenAI, Gemini, Grok, there are just so many tons of models right now available in the market. Many of them open source and free as well. But even with all of those, occurring right now, with the US alone, who has invested close to $200 billion over the last 2+ years in just in LLMs and generative AI and things along with that, we have seen the output that is being generated it still has not become very dependable or very reliable even today. Having said that, I have made other podcasts as well where I've definitely mentioned about the benefit that people are getting from using generative AI, chat GPTs, and other kind of tools in their day-to-day productivity lives to improve their life cycles. But you have to understand that the pitfalls are following. If you are not an expert in your domain, let's say if you are a programmer and you already know programming really well, you're an expert in your domain, let's say in risk and fraud, or cyber security, or distributed computing, or databases, or operating systems, or back-end computing, front end, like, you have your domain and you are an expert in that field. And if you also know how to prompt and leverage these tools, whether it is Copilot or Chat GPT or whichever large language model that you like, then I think you can benefit a lot, because you can specify exactly what you want from the system, and when the output is generated, you can actually validate it as to whether it meets your requirements or not. And even if it is not perfect solution, it will at least give you a like a brief starting point, and then you can build on top of it. So even this itself is a huge assistance for a person who is an expert in your own field. But let's say if you are not an expert in your field, which is the case with vibe coding, a lot of people you would have seen have started doing vibe coding, who have no background in coding and they're just using these tools to do vibe coding. I think that is a recipe for disaster, because one, you will trust the generative AI that what I'm telling it is trying to do, and most likely it is good. But as I said, the output that generative AI generates may be filled with a lot of bugs. It may also generate some facts which are non-factual. They are not true. It can muddle up multiple things together to concoct out a new kind of an output. So, because it has these inherent errors already built into the system, a person who doesn't know their domain and just solely relies on Chat GPT and byte coding and tools like such are going to get a root shock, because this can lead to very disastrous effects. I know of a lot of people in industry who are benefiting from generative AI writing code, because it's a very good tool from helping you to get brainstorming done, or getting a prototype done, or getting from zero to one, right? But it is not very good if you are looking at productionizing the system, building the final solution and things along those lines, because you always need to have a man and machine working in tandem to generate the output quality that you require. If you fully rely on these LLMs to do your work, and you give your decision making back to these tools, then it is a very big recipe for disaster. And I caution everyone, please do not do that just until yet. I am the same person who said by 2030, a lot of things will be automated, a lot of jobs will be automated. I'm still saying yes, that is going to happen. At entry level, some automation has already started. That is why you'll see constant layoffs, and people at the entry level are not being hired right now. But having said that, it should not be used by novices, or it should not be used by people who either don't know how to use these AI generative AI tools, or they are not experts in their respective domain. So you have to be an expert in your domain. That's compulsory. Plus, you need to know how to use these tools for your own benefit. Then this tool could be like productivity booster for you. But if you are not an expert in your field, or you don't know how to prompt or how to use best leverage these tools, then please do not use them, because they are going to cause more harm to you than they are going to benefit you. So that's another pitfall. Now let me shift gears a little bit. That you would have seen that we have seen advent of deep fakes, and people are generating deep fraudulent like insurance claims, like fraudulent pictures, fraudulent food items. People are also kind of generating fraudulent bills of like travel or food and things like that. So with these tools, doing this uh, you know risky behavior has become extremely easy. So you have to understand that there are uh, there are trust uh, there are trust and safety issues that people have to understand. And I have talked about them almost 2 years back, that when this chat gpt generative AI really becomes powerful, it will enable a lot of these scamsters and fraudsters and fakers who will use these tools to either game the interviews. We have already seen an example. There was this student of Columbia University. Um, there was a student of Columbia University who was essentially he built a tool basically that can give you assistance during your interviews. So when you are interviewing for, let's say, Amazon or Google, etc., and they ask you to do live coding, etc., so while they are speaking, this tool listens into it, uses a LLM in the background, and generates the output, like the code for you. So this person demonstrated the success of this tool by himself getting offers from multiple different companies, including Amazon, just by cheating in a remote interview through this mechanism. So he was in an interview room with these companies who were asking him technical interviews, and he was generating the code in the sidelines, which could not be detected by the other company, and writing the same code. So in a real time basis, the LLM was listening into the conversation. Based upon the question, it will basically generate the output, what the code could be, and things like that. And this person was just basically copy pasting the code, or copying the code and writing it down. So right now that person has been fired from the those, like, the offer letters have been rescinded, as well as his MS from the Columbia University has also been rejected. So I'm just telling, this is just tip of the iceberg. There will be lot more cases like this. A lot of people will use it to break the trust and safety. And going forward, I think images, videos, etc., will not be admissible as proofs in the court of law, because, as I said, now you can generate fake videos, fake music. You can generate a music and say it is sung by Salman Khan or Kartik Aryan or whosoever your actor is, because all you need to do is, lyrics are already there. You have to train this actor's voice and just have them speak these words. It's as easy as that, right? So people have, it has its both sides, right? So people even have resurrected lot of dead singers who are singing now new songs in their voice, in their tone, in their style. So in one way that is beneficial also, that you are able to bring to life your loved ones. But then it's also plagiarism in the other sense, right? That people who are not supposed to be singing these songs are singing. So those are the pros and cons and the pitfalls of using AI and generative AI. uh, so there will be trust and safety damages of AI. Of course, job losses will be there, because as automation takes precedence, a lot of jobs will be basically eliminated. Uh, uh, People who are experts will improve their productivity. People who are semi-experts also may see improvement in their productivity, but people who don't know their domain and all will basically ruin their productivity if they start using these tools without really owning them. So think of any kind of AI tool as your assistant. Do not give it fully autonomous thinking or reasoning powers to it, or making a decision on your behalf. You should be the owner about it, right? A lot of these models that have come recently, they claim they are reasoning models because they use something known as chain of thought reasoning. I would just say that just because the model is taking more time and it is printing out how it is thinking and things along those lines, still doesn't make it intelligent. It's just the process whereby, rather than coming with direct answers, they will throw out couple of answers, and then keep reevaluating again and again to come out with what could be the possibly next answer. Fundamental is still the same. It's still the you can say it's still the probability that is in play, which it looks for in the past, how many times the similar set of question was asked, what was the most likely output, and that's what you basically see on the screen. So I think I am done from my side, primarily about the pitfalls of AI, whether it is trust and safety, whether it is fraudulent behavior, whether it is using AI in areas where it should not be used, whether it is false positive or false negative. All these things should be considered before you start any AI project, or if your company is heavily investing in AI, please consider these things, whether you even have data or not, whether you can validate these systems or not. With that, I will end my session today. I hope you're enjoying your time. If you like this podcast, do like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Please do write your questions as to how you are leveraging AI. Has it really improved your productivity? Are you seeing job losses around you? And what do you see as the future of AI? So, till then, take care. Have a nice day. We'll meet soon. Bye.